Hello. It has been over 24 hours since I finished and I'm very tired, and as a result I'm not going to talk too much about everything. I think Wednesday I have off, so well, at least the morning, so hopefully I'll have a chance to properly sit down and chat with you then. But the two things I would like to do today is check Strava and see what it tracked, because I know that what it tracked was wrong, but I just want to see what it tracked. And also I want to have a look at my very first run, which was this day last year, and just see how far I've come. So first of all, I'm going to have a quick look at Strava. The second and third kilometre, as I vlogged, were in a tunnel, and I think that just threw the GPS through the window. So Strava thinks I did 24.4 kilometres. Now I did start it a little bit before the actual start line, but definitely not 3 kilometres before. It says my average tempo was 7:22, but that's also completely wrong. It says I did my half marathon in 2 hours and 28 minutes, which is completely wrong. 20 kilometers in 2 hours 19, also wrong. 10 miles in 1:47, like all of these figures are so wrong. My 5K, it thinks I did in 26 minutes and 23 seconds. I don't think so. And my 10K in an hour 32. Like, that is all so incorrect. And it's so annoying. It's so annoying. But it's interesting, if you look at my third kilometre, the average tempo drops right down, and that must have been when I came out of the tunnel and it was suddenly like, hang on a second. But the funny thing is, like, it has got the map right. Like, that was exactly the course. So you'd think it would know, but I guess not. It's so frustrating. This is exactly, well, it's not quite exactly, but it's so similar to what happened with the 10K. With the 10K, it was almost the opposite, where all during my training, it was lying to me. So then when I got to race day, I didn't do as well as I predicted. And that's only because my prediction was based off false data. And then with this one, I really didn't like not having kilometre marks. I really didn't like that. And it had said online that there would be, and to be fair, there were for the 5, 10, 15 and 20, but I was hoping for every kilometre, and it really threw me off to not have that, because I have no idea what miles is. I spent a lot of the run thinking about, like, okay, if I'm at 3 miles, then that means I'm at sort of 4.5 kilometres or whatever. Like, it was really annoying. I don't know what I said, like, in my videos while I was walking. I feel like a lot of it is a blur, and I'm so glad that I did film things, because I'm hoping that by watching the footage back when I'm editing it, because I haven't edited it yet, but I'm hoping that that will remind me what I actually did, because I feel like so much of it has been blocked out. And especially sort of later on, I definitely found myself in that, not quite a pain zone that people refer to, but sort of a dead zone, if you will, where I didn't really feel like I had energy. I didn't really feel like I had motivation. I didn't know if I was going to get to the finish line. I didn't know if I'd get under 3 hours. Like, I was just feeling very flat. And I was barely paying attention to my surroundings. And I was really trying to make an effort to, because I was like, this is why I'm doing it. I'm not doing it for the speed or the run or anything. Like, I'm doing it for the experience of running the streets of London, so let me pay attention. But I do feel like there were definitely bits that I just completely zoned out. But as I say, we will discuss in more detail in a couple of days. I think I also need a couple of days to, like, properly reflect on it. But let's check this Nike Run app. My very first run was 2.58 kilometers at a tempo of 8 minutes and 38 seconds per kilometer. The funny thing is, like, that's not actually that far off what my general time is. It probably isn't even that far off from my half marathon time. I wonder if I can see that. This is not super clear to me. Okay, my time was 8 minutes and 19 per kilometer. So my speed really has barely improved, but obviously the distance I did 10 times, more or less, not quite, 9 times what I did for my first run. And I am proud. I am. I think the thing I find hard is I'd had such high hopes, and I just need to remind myself that the weather really was not on my side. I think it was like 24 degrees and sunny, and I am convinced if it was 5 degrees cooler and cloudy, or at least partly cloudy, I could have done better. But if that's the case, then I shouldn't be so harsh on myself. I think the thing I struggle with is, this is the only time I'm gonna run a half marathon. Like, I'm not gonna run another one. And I just wanted it to be amazing. And a lot of the experience was, but the result just wasn't what I hoped for. But then equally, I ran a half marathon, or jogged, walked, whatever you want to call it. I completed a half marathon. And that's something I just need to hold on to. But it's so funny, because everyone was saying, like, oh, once you've done the half marathon, I kept saying I'm not going to do a full marathon. And everyone was saying in response, well, once you've done the half, I'm sure you'll change your mind about that. And I was running the half thinking never, like I'm never gonna double this. And as I say, like I'm not even gonna do another half. So a big marathon is not on the table for me. I do like the idea of saying I've done it, but I really hated running, at least sort of in the conditions of the half. I don't want to say I hated it, that doesn't feel fair. I did enjoy a lot of it, but it was so tough. So much harder than I'd anticipated. Anyway, I'm gonna be kind to myself, and probably on Wednesday I will talk to you about the details and stuff. I'll see you then. Hello. Let's have a proper chat about running the big half marathon. First and foremost, I feel like a lot of it was a blur, and I feel like I've wiped a lot of it already from my memory, and I haven't yet started editing the video, and I think once I do that, I'll have more of an idea of what I experienced and what I did. I've been finding it surprisingly hard to feel proud of myself, and that's surprising to me because I ran a half marathon. Like, that is so beyond what I thought I was capable a year ago, capable of. And I was never the sporty kid in school. I was talking to my parents, and my father was saying how most of my teachers at school almost certainly still remember me. If he sees them around at the community, they will approach him and say like, oh yeah, you know, we remember Raquel, blah, blah, blah. But the sports teachers, the PE and sport teachers, 100% do not remember me, 100%. And I never missed school, but I did miss sports days. That was the only day of the year I would miss. I was never, ever, ever sporty. So to have run a half marathon, like, I need to accept that that's impressive for myself. But I think because the run just didn't go at all as I'd planned or hoped, I just find it hard to like acknowledge that I still did it. I walked a lot more than I'd wanted to, but I know that I needed to do that. You know, it was 25 degrees and sunny. Like, of course I had to slow to a walk. I think in terms of sort of the 48 hours before, what I ate was fine. And, you know, I drank enough water. Like, I don't think that was the problem. But I've mentioned, I think every time I've done a training run when there's been sun, how much I feel that sun on my skin and how much it does affect me. And there was hardly any shade. Like, aside from the tunnel for those first couple of kilometers, everything else was out in the open, sun beaming down on you. Like, there was really not much shade. And obviously that just knocked me out. I might go through like what I ate in more depth at some point, but not right now, not this video, not this moment. We got there really nicely on time, which was amazing. And, you know, I was very calm. I had time to go to the bathroom and I had time to like eat my banana and get into place, and everything felt really good in that sense. As I was in the like, I don't know what they call it, the chute maybe, where you start walking to the start line, but you're not at the start line yet. The way people move, you walk for a bit next to the same people and then somehow you end up next to different people. But one of the people I ended up next to was significantly older. I don't know exactly how old he was, but definitely a couple of decades ahead of me. And he said, "You're dressed warmly," because at this point I was still wearing my like jackety thing. And I explained to him that the last time I did a run, it was the winter run, and I was so cold at the end that I just wanted to have something. But it did make me think, maybe I won't need it, because it is going to be so much hotter than anyone had anticipated. And luckily Wayne was just before the start line, so I did actually catch him and just give it to him, because I figured, you know, we don't need it. A couple of things I'm really grateful for. Number one is that. Number two is that I didn't need to blow my nose throughout the run. It seems like such a silly thing. I did have tissues with me, but thankfully, like, that wasn't an issue. Even in terms of like sweat and sun cream dripping into my eyes, like that, I don't remember being an issue. What did keep happening is when I did my practice runs, whenever there would be sweat or sun cream or whatever, I would use the bottom of my top to like wipe it away. But the bottom of my top had my bib on it, so I couldn't use it. I kept trying to use it and then realizing I couldn't. But that was not the end of the world. I'm really glad I brought my own water. I knew that there would be water stations and I did figure maybe that'll be okay, but I absolutely needed to have my own water. So I'm very glad I did. And I'm very grateful that my stomach was all right. Nothing was sort of going funky, and I didn't need to use the bathroom during the run at all, which is great. I know it seems like such a silly thing, but I was really conscious of the fact that it would take so much time out of my run if I had to stop for a bathroom. That being said, some of the things I struggled with, obviously the heat. I may have mentioned it in the video, but that tunnel, it just was very long, and it got to a point where, because you're in a tunnel, there's no air. So even though it's hot outside and you've got the sun beaming on you, inside it was also hot because it was just like static. There was nothing. And coming out of that tunnel, there was quite a hill that went on for quite a while, which I really, really struggled with. And I did push through and run, which I'm very glad I did, but it was hard. And that's probably another reason why I had to walk earlier than I wanted to, just because like all these factors combined were not great. And also, I don't know if I filmed this, there was a whole kilometre a bit later on that was entirely on cobbles, and I don't know whose idea that was, but I didn't appreciate it. I think I may have mentioned this already, but I am annoyed because this probably is going to be my only ever half marathon, and I know I could have done better, but the weather conditions were just so not in my favour. But I crossed the finish line. There was a moment, I think I did film this, where I 100% thought I was either going to be sick or collapse. Like, I was struggling. So I'm glad I listened to my body enough to get to the finish line. I'm glad the ITBS didn't really kick in until sort of kilometre 11, I would say. No, mile 11. It was before mile 12. And like, yeah, that's annoying, but at least it was right towards the end. And before that, like, that wasn't really causing me any issues, which I'm very grateful for. And I'm very glad I still got under 3 hours. Like, that is something I need to be happy about. And I am happy about that. I would have been gutted if I'd got over. On, I think it was Tuesday, maybe it was Monday night? No, I think it was Tuesday night. I spoke to my mum. I tried to speak to both my parents after the run itself, but my data was really rubbish. So I spoke to my father, I think in the end, either Sunday night or Monday. And then Tuesday night, I spoke to my mum. Maybe I'm getting these times wrong. Whatever. Whenever I spoke to her, she mentioned I'd posted a couple of clips just to my close friends on Instagram, and just like the kilometre marks that you would have seen of, you know, me dedicating a kilometre to every person, and then also 1 or 2 bits in between. And she said, I was watching those videos and I could see just how tough it was for you. I could see it was really hard. And hearing that did something to me, because it was really hard. It was so hard. And I tell people that, and it's like, I can't express just how hard it was. And so just to hear someone say, I can see how hard it was. And I know that she can, because she knows me, you know, she's known me since birth. Well, she's actually known me since before birth. Like, she knows. And it just felt so good to be recognised, like to have it acknowledged that that was a justified feeling. And she said, like, this is probably the hardest thing you've ever done. And I've been trying to think, has there been anything that's been harder? You know, aside from obviously saying goodbye to family members that you don't want to say goodbye to. I guess moving to Australia was not ideal, but I think she might be right. I think this might be the hardest thing I've ever done. And I'm so glad I did it. I am proud of myself, but I think I just need some time to sit with it. And I'm really like eager to edit this video because I want to see like what actually happened. Oh, I was immensely grateful for the showers. I know not everyone potentially likes them, but oh, they were so needed. And I thought there might only be 1, but there were like, I think 4, which was amazing. I do intend to take a little bit of a break from running now. I really want to get back into dance classes. I feel like I've been putting that off for the last few weeks because of the ITBS and not wanting to do anything that would damage the race. But now that it's over, I feel like I can go back to dance classes, which I'm very keen to do. And I do think at some point I'll pick it back up. And as I mentioned, I think in the last video, or maybe the one before, I really want to try and work on speed and still enjoying it, obviously. But I think I do enjoy it when it's speedy. I just can't maintain it for as long. But then I think I'm gonna try and maintain it for longer, basically. I think that's what I'm gonna work on. Having done this half marathon now, and then also obviously the 10K back in February, I feel like the 10K really is the distance for me. I feel like that's my comfortable but challenging distance, where it's still a mental battle to get there, and it's still, you know, not easy for me, but I can do it. So I could potentially see myself doing more 10K races, although I don't want to be spending money. I'm going to do a whole separate video about the money I spent in the last year, so I'm excited for that, stay tuned. But I can see myself working on a 10K. I think a goal for me is going to be to get under half hour 5K, and also then by extension eventually under an hour 10K, or at 1 hour. But I think those are faraway goals and there's no pressure on them. I'm just going to see if I can do that. And if nothing else, I do want to continue running just for, you know, health reasons. the whole reason, well, one of the whole reasons that I started this up was because I now work in desk jobs, and so I don't get anywhere near as much movement as I used to, and I don't want to lose that. I definitely want to keep moving because it clearly has been good for me. And even though I don't necessarily enjoy running, or especially not the longer distances, there is something about moving my body that does feel good. So I don't want to give that up. As of today, it's been 3 days since I ran the half marathon. It's Wednesday, and I would say like most of my ailments are gone, I guess. My index toe on my left foot is a little bit bruised and not looking its happiest. It's slightly longer than my big toe, so I'm wondering if like that's why it like bumps against the shoe or something in a different way. I don't know. But it's not sore on the day-to-day. I can just see that it's bruised, and like if I accidentally knock it or whatever, then it hurts more than the rest of my toes. I would say my ITBS is more or less gone. I mean, I'm sure if I tried to run today, it would come back, but it doesn't feel like it's present in the same way. And like, I would say in general, my muscles, like obviously I could do with another massage, but like I don't need it. And I do feel like I can do everything as normal. I do think I could go for a run today. So that's great. And I don't actually know if I mentioned on here about the massage, but my mum booked it for me for Monday, which was amazing. And I genuinely think it made a difference. I feel like, I mean, I always need a massage. I permanently need one, but I do think it's helped my recovery in some way. So look, I don't know what else is gonna come. I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't see myself signing up for another half marathon or a full marathon. Like I know a lot of people said that, but I don't think that's gonna happen. And I don't think I'll continue the running videos in the way that I have for the last year. But I will obviously talk about my running still in my vlogs and everything. So if you do want to stay tuned for the journey or, you know, whatever comes next, feel free to subscribe. There's a button below. I may tack on my food intake at the end of this. I may not. I haven't yet decided. I need to edit everything and see sort of how long this video is becoming. Potentially this is the start of a new one. I don't know. But thank you so much if you've been watching my videos. It's been a struggle, it's been a challenge, and I'm so glad I've been documenting everything. But really, I really feel the support, the network around me, the people who say things, comments, tell me things, donate. I mean, everything and anything. I've really felt that whole network around me, and it's really lifted me up and it's really helped me get through the race. So thank you to everyone, and I'll see you in the next video. Who knows when? Well, it won't be too long, I'm sure. All right, bye. Hello. Yesterday, after chatting to you for a bit and doing my other bits and bobs, I did start editing the run video, as in of race day, and now I feel like I can be proud of myself. It took me a while to get to this mindset, and I don't know why. Well, I do. It's because I didn't do as well as I'd hoped, and the run just didn't go as I'd wanted, as I've already spoken about. But looking back on it, actually, like, I don't know if I just didn't film a lot, or if I've just bigged it up in my head, because when I'm looking back at those clips, I'm actually not that upset or struggling. Obviously, I know that I was, but it doesn't seem to have been as bad as I remembered it. I know that there was a stretch that I didn't film where I was really feeling rubbish, but aside from that, I feel like it wasn't that bad. I'm kind of now wishing that I'd vlogged more so that I would know how it was in actuality. But point is, I'm a lot more proud of myself now than I was 24 hours ago. And I did really hate it, and I really don't plan on running anymore, at least not such long distances, and definitely not any longer. But I may or may not have been looking at marathon places today. But my goodness, they're expensive. I was actually looking at the Amsterdam Marathon for next year, because I think obviously that's going to be a flat course. I think there would be something really lovely and special about doing it in Amsterdam, and it's a little bit later in the year as well, so hopefully it would be a bit cooler. I don't know, there's a lot that I would like about the thought of doing, if I'm gonna do a marathon, doing it in Amsterdam, but it's £115 for this year, so that's a lot more money than I want to be spending on the free exercise that I've picked up. And also, obviously, I would love to do, well, I wouldn't love to do the London Marathon, but I would, if I was going to do any, I would like to do the London one, especially because I remember this year, everyone also got a Guinness World Record certificate, which would be such a cool 2-in-1. And obviously the convenience of not having to travel, not having to leave home, just that being as it is. But again, I think it's like 70 or 80 pounds, which is a lot more than I want to be spending. So my logic is, I don't think I'm ever gonna run a marathon unless I'm gifted a place. Like, that's kind of how I feel. And then I probably would take on the challenge, but I don't think I want to. Don't get me wrong, I think that would be something very cool about saying I've run a marathon, and, knowing that I'd be capable of that would be quite something. Like, that's already how I felt about the half marathon, even though I didn't quite process it on time. But equally, it is expensive, and I did struggle with the half, and it would just be really hard. I would definitely need at least 6 months notice, probably more. But anyway, I really don't see that on the cards for the time being. The only thing, as I think I've mentioned, is just working on my speed rather than distance. I feel like that's where I'm at the moment. Although it is going to be harder with evenings getting shorter and not having access to parks in the evenings. I do feel more or less back to normal. I know I mentioned it yesterday, but now I really feel like there's nothing. In fact, on my way home from work, in my jumper and coat and with my bag, I decided to just do a couple of 100 meters. It was probably 200 meters running, and it felt good. It felt fine. I could have kept going, but I was just very conscious of the fact that I was wearing a jumper and a coat and a bag. So I definitely don't think I'm going to stop running. I just don't know how and when and what and how long and all the details. But as I say, I will keep you updated, I'm sure, in my vlogs. I am probably going to round off this whole series in a moment, but before I do, I want to talk about what I ate the 48 hours before my half marathon. So just before I start, I'm going to show you my prep list. I don't know if you can read all that, but that's sort of everything I had planned. And now let's talk about what I actually had. So Friday morning, I had a smoothie. Friday as a snack, and I don't know why I've put it down as a snack, but it was just something. I always feel like hot drinks are food. Not that they're food, but they fill me up. They give me energy and they make me not need to eat, if that makes sense. So my snack was a latte. Then for lunch, I had whole wheat fusilli pasta with tomato sauce. And the tomato sauce had fresh tomatoes and canned and some onion and garlic, I think. Then I did have a number of snacks Friday afternoon. I had 2 Gold bars, 1 Twix, like a singular one, not a thing of 2, a handful of pretzels and a banana. Then obviously for Friday night, I didn't have a say in what I was having because I was at my grandma's. But what we ended up having was mostly good in terms of what I should have been having. The only thing is there were some spicy bits and they really, really strongly advise against spice. But luckily it was Friday night. It was still enough time before the run that it wasn't the end of the world. So I had leek and potato soup, white rice, dal, cauliflower curry, spinach and butternut squash curry, peach and nectarine crumble with cream, fruit salad, a little bit of challah, a couple of glasses of elderflower with sparkling water, and half a glass of grape juice. Obviously, throughout all of this, I was also trying to drink loads of water, especially on the Saturday, which we'll come to now. So again, for breakfast on Saturday, I had a very big glass of the same smoothie. Then for lunch, I had 2 slices of wholemeal bread with avocado and boiled egg. I think it was 2 eggs, if I remember correctly. My snacks on Saturday. Now, let me tell you, I like snacking. Not a huge amount, but I like being able to snack and I like having sweet stuff and chocolate and things like that. And I was really trying to avoid that because it was recommended that you don't have like high sugar things. So instead, I had a very big bowl of pretzels and I had another banana. Bananas were really my go-to here. I was like, anytime I'm hungry, I'm gonna have a banana. And then for Saturday supper, I had a roast sweet potato. I had some fried spinach and onion. You're not meant to have fried food, but it's the only way, well, it's not the only way I like spinach, but it's my favorite way of having spinach. And I thought a tiny little bit will be okay. And spinach in and of itself was highly recommended. So that's what I had. I had some baked tofu with a couple of light spices. I had the tiniest little bit of some leftover cold pasta, but literally just picking at it because I knew I should be trying to eat more. And I had a very small glass of the smoothie. And then for breakfast on Sunday, as I did actually share with you, I had 1 piece of toast with avocado. And then about an hour before I started running, I also had a banana. And that was it. During the run, I really didn't eat very much. And I think that was in part because of the heat and I was feeling a bit sick. I had, I'd say maybe 3 or 4 Percy Pigs over the course of the run and maybe 2 or 3 Sour Patch Kids, like really, really, really little. Probably less than I should have. I do wish I'd brought like pretzels or something with me on the run, or even just like carrots or cucumber, just something that was healthy. No, not healthy, savory. The sweetness was just not hitting it. I do think I fueled well. I don't feel like my sort of lack of energy and dips during the run came from what I'd eaten beforehand or not eaten. I do think it was just from the heat. Maybe I should have had like an extra piece of toast in the morning. That's the only thing I can think of, like maybe this is what I should have done different. And maybe, only I'm thinking this now, maybe I should have asked Wayne to give me a banana when I saw him at Tower Bridge. Like that's the only change maybe that I would suggest. The Lucozade, which I can't remember what mile that was, I think it was maybe mile 9, really gave me a kick. Like I needed that. Like the liquid sugar was what I needed at that point. But yeah, thankfully my stomach was all fine and normal during the run. There was nothing funky happening, which has happened to me a couple of times on practice runs, and really can ruin a run. So thankfully I didn't have to deal with that as well as everything else. But yeah, let me know if you've run a half marathon or a full marathon, and if you have ate similarly prior to your run, or if there's anything you would suggest. As I think I mentioned earlier, it was really hard to find vegetarian suggestions, but I do think I did well enough. So this is it. That is the end of my half marathon series. That is everything. If you have any questions or anything, advice maybe, or if you've run a half marathon or I don't know, just anything, feel free to share down below. I like finding other runners, especially people who are not particularly fast or serious like me. I don't know what the plan is now. As I say, if someone gives me an opportunity to do races, whether that be 5k, 10k or half marathons, full marathons, I probably will take the opportunity. But I certainly don't know if I'll be putting myself forward for especially the longer runs. But I'm certainly not ruling out running. Definitely not. I'm just really hoping that not having signed up for something coming up, I still have some sort of motivation to run, because a lot of the time when I went running, I didn't have motivation and I only went because I knew I had to be able to like get to the goal. But hopefully there will still be something inside of me that is happy to be running. All right, that's it. I will see you at some point. Bye. Hello. I keep thinking I'm finishing it up and then I still have more things I remember that I want to say. And one of those things is I feel like I relied very heavily on, or I was going to be relying very heavily on the crowds. And even though there were people dotted all along and some great signs and, you know, very supportive people, I don't feel it carried me as much as I was hoping it would. And I tried to take it in, but there definitely were moments when it was so hot and I was feeling sick and people were cheering. I was like, just shut up. I mean, I didn't say that, but in my head I was like, I don't want to hear it. And there was one sign, and I don't know if it was the same people who like appeared in different spots or if multiple people had the same sign, but it was something along the lines of less than 13.1 miles to go or something like that. And every time I saw it, like the first time it was funny because it was like less than a mile in, but then every other time after that I saw it, I was like, shut up, I don't care. But it was great, and I really did. It's a shame that I didn't capture more of the signs, because definitely that they were fun. There was one, I wish, like this is my favorite one I think of the day, because obviously that was the first day of the tube strikes. They said, you guys are running better than the TFL or something like that, which I thought was very funny. There was absolutely something else I was gonna say, but I've now forgotten it. So I'm gonna not finish the video yet, and I will pop back on when I remember. See you whenever. I don't know if this is what I was gonna say, but one thing I don't think I've mentioned yet is that because it took so long for me to end up meeting with Wayne, I ate very little post-marathon, half marathon, which is definitely not advised. Thank goodness they gave us a little yogurty pouch and water and Lucozade, because I needed that. But that was all I had between finishing the half marathon and I think it was around 6:30 that we started. No, probably about 7 when we got our food. I didn't eat anything else between, what was it, 12:30 and 7. So not advised. And I could definitely not necessarily feel it, and I'm sure like maybe my recovery would have been better or whatever, but it wasn't like I was super hungry. But I did feel, and I think I mentioned this in the vlog, I did feel like I wanted pretzels. I was like, I want something salty. But I was incredibly grateful for the banana pouch and the water and the Lucozade especially as well. Was there more? I don't know. This video might end, or I might pop back in with another thing to share. I'm good at letting things go. One other thing I forgot to mention was the music. I know I spoke sort of at some points about what songs I was listening to, and when I was watching those back, like some of them are good, but in general, I definitely felt disappointed with the songs that played. Now I have a playlist of over 24 hours worth, so obviously not every song was going to be great. I think about 10 to 15 minutes was taken up by Jesus of Suburbia. That is a long song, and I don't really like it, so I don't know why it's on the playlist, but I didn't skip any songs, and I should have, but I definitely felt like I was missing sort of the energy and the fun, because I didn't have the best songs. And like, as I was listening to some songs, you know, in the last few days, I'm like, oh, this would have been a good one to run to, but that is partly my own fault. I could have curated my playlist better, and I didn't. Ah well, it's over now. Is this the end? This might be the end. We'll see. I'll give it the weekend and see if I think of anything else. But if I don't, then this is the end. Yay! Hello. Okay, we are officially ending the running series here and now. This is it. If I remember anything that I've not said to you, I'll just mention it in a vlog, as I said before. The only thing is, I am now considering maybe doing a running series for trying to get a 5k in 30 minutes. So there may yet be another series to come, but as I say, that's certainly not for the moment. So I am going to leave it here. Thank you so much if you've been with me on this journey. It's been something to have gone from skipping sports days to running a half marathon. It's crazy, crazy. And as I've said already, in hindsight, now, I did enjoy it and I am glad I did it. Enjoy is maybe too strong a word, but I don't regret it in the slightest. It was really hard, that's, you know, undeniable, but I am proud of myself and I'm glad I did it. Who knows what the next adventure will be, but you can guarantee I'll take you along for it regardless. Okay, bye!